Hi everybody, as promised, I said I would do a short tutorial that deals with placing the trees on your site for M2A3, but I thought I would also start by dealing with this landform here, just how to split this, what to do with the wall, and then if you want to adjust the landform, how to deal with that. So let's start there first, and then we'll get up to the components, which is really pretty easy and straightforward. Let's turn on our hidden geometry, and you can see that right now there's no line right here, and by selecting anything that goes through there, it selects on both sides. In order to solve that problem, if I want to adjust the landform down here independently, I'm going to select this surface, shift, select the wall, right click, and just do our old friend intersect faces with selection. And now you can see that it's not separated, but there is a line there. In fact, if I cut that, you can see that there is now a separate piece inside, which I can just delete. That definitely will separate this piece from this piece. But as you can see, there's still an area right here that's not separated. If I turn my hidden geometry on, I don't know exactly where this ends. You could draw another line in here, but since I have one right here, I am going to right click on that and just unsoften it. Alternately, you could use the line tool and just draw a line right from there to there. So either one, if you want me to soften this back up, turn the hidden geometry off. Either way, you're going to get the ability to select both of these surfaces independently. So let's put our wall back in place. And just to make sure everybody can see that, I will get the paint bucket and apply a different texture to that so you can see that those two have different and separate materials applied to them. Now, once I've done that, there's kind of two other steps. This wall is originally supposed to be this loose stone wall, but as I said, you can use this wall that was in the geometry there. Now, if your wall does this, probably would be a good idea to move around here, turn X-ray vision on. There we go. Open that wall up. You can see it extends way back here. Okay, this may be a little difficult. All right, let's turn the X-ray off. How about if we take this building and cut it out of there for right now? I should be able to get the push-pull tool. Now we've got a surface here, and I can pull that back and just snap it. Right to, should be able to catch that line. I'm going to pull it back and then pull it up and snap to that corner. Sometimes if you're right over it, you can't get it. So if you push it past, then pull up, we can snap to right there. Close that component, close that group, paste my building back in place. And now that's lining up a little bit better. And I'm not sure why this isn't lining up, but that's easy to solve, right? Just pull that out and snap to here. It's not letting me pull that out anymore. All right, let's change the wall. Oh, sorry, I'm not dealing with that one right now. If this isn't lined up, you can just push the wall over to line up. This is the one I'm concerned about. It's still a little bit over, but you just basically have to pull that back until that lines up with the outside edge. So I'm not going to worry about it for what I'm doing right now. It won't affect what I'm going to show you. Now, before I can adjust this wall, I need to understand where this landform is going to sit, right? So let's pull up our hidden geometry again, and you can see that maybe this looks good over here, but maybe from here over, I want to pull that up a little bit, maybe halfway up, not all the way up to here, but halfway up there. To do that, I will use my artisan tools, and maybe I need to make that a little bit bigger. I'll tell you the truth, I'm just shift clicking on that. Probably want to go from right, yeah, let's pull these. And nice thing is, because I've separated that from the other side, I'm not going to select that as I move this. So that looks pretty good. So I've selected all those pieces, and then I'm just going to use the rotate tool. If I snap to one of these edges here and hold the button down and pull out and snap here, that gives me kind of a perpendicular direction, right? And I can come down here and I can just rotate that up. Maybe, you know, somewhere in there. That looks, yeah, a little bit better. Okay. Simple technique that we can use to bring that up. Now let's turn our hidden geometry off. Zoom out. So now that we've got that adjusted, let's get in here and adjust this wall. And the simplest way to do that is to simply step it down. So I'm going to come across here, push pull, step that down a little bit, go back to the line tool, push pull, move that down a little bit. Okay, so when you see yourself coming into the landform, that needs to stay up a little bit. Come over here, another edge, push pull. And actually, just looking at that, that's pretty even the rest of the way, so I probably wouldn't bring that down anymore. So now that gives me this kind of stair-stepped wall that when you look at it on the inside, the landform is pretty much up there. I might even pull this back up a little bit. That looks like it's about to spill over. But that's a couple quick adjustments to make that landform match. And now the retaining wall actually looks like it's retaining soil instead of just standing up there as a freestanding wall. All right, so that's a couple little quick things you can do to adjust this and make that fit together just a little more evenly. All right, now let's go to the plants. This is really very straightforward, very simple process. I've already brought in my plant blocks from AutoCAD, so let me start with these trees. Okay, one of the issues here that you can see right away is some of these plants had elevations. I don't know why, so I'm going to double click on this, select these, use the move tool, grab one, start moving vertically, hold the shift key down, and just snap to something else down here. That means I can bring them down to match the other ones. And just to make this easier, I'm going to explode this. And the reason I can do that is that these are all components and they're not going to merge together. And that way I can select the ones that I want. And I'll start with these few bigger ones here. These are larger trees. Simply select one, right click, choose reload. Now I've already saved a few trees out, so I'm going to take, these are the bigger ones, so I'm going to maybe use this one for that. And you can see that that was brought in. Now I can adjust these if I want to a little bit bigger, but before I do that, I want to put them in context so I can see actually how they look in terms of scale. So I'm going to select all those, right click, and choose drop GC. And that should drop them all right down on the landform where they belong, which is really nice. And then if you decide, well, they really should be a little bit bigger, the best way to do this is open the component, double click, use scale, change the height, then hold the control key down and grab this middle one and change the width. Close component, and you'll see that it's changed all those. So that's a really quick way. If you scale the component from the outside, you will only scale the instance that you're working on. If you open the component up and scale it, you'll scale every instance of that component. So that actually looks pretty good. I've got a nice canopy height. I can see the trees there. So let's go back up to the next one. Let's say all these aspens, smaller trees. Choose reload. Got one for those. And there you go. It just substitutes all those in. I change my point of view so I can right drag across. Right click, drop GC, and there they are, all down on the surface. If you decide, again, if you want those a little bit bigger, you can open them up, double click, scale, pull it up a bit, control this. The reason I'm using the control is because, whoa, this, okay, if you see that, that's because it's snapping to something. Okay, so I change my point of view and it's not snapping anymore. There we go. You don't need to select all these components and scale them. That's kind of scaling them all from the outside. You just want to select one, open it, select everything in there. And the reason, if you didn't notice that already, the reason I'm selecting or scaling a bit at a time, you say, well, why don't you just grab this and scale proportionally? Well, if I do this and scale proportionally, it's also, you can see it's also moving the center of that tree, which means they're all going to be out of place. So that's why I scaled it vertically, then I did the control key and scaled it horizontally. If you scale it in one dimension at a time, it keeps the center exactly where it's supposed to be. And again, I can check this and say, yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, if you see something like this, okay, that instance, maybe the way it was lined up is a little off. So just pick that, move, slide it over, drop it into there, and make whatever adjustments. But you can see they all do a pretty nice job of, they're right connected to the landform. They're not floating out there in space somewhere. And you just use that same process to go all the way through and select every plant, tree, shrub. So obviously the first thing you want to do is decide what components that you want to use for your final model. Collect those all together in a folder, just like I did. Then when you start doing this reload process, it's simply a matter of picking the symbol, picking the shrub or the tree, hit OK, replaces it, drop it down on the landform. It's really super fast, easy way to get all those components down onto the landform exactly where they belong. Then check them out visually, make sure that they ended up in the same place or the right place if there's not one like the one I just adjusted near the sidewalk that needs to be adjusted over a little bit. Okay, so that's the process. If, okay, let's do this one for example. If you didn't set, I'm just trying to simulate something here. So let's say I'm going to copy that. I selected those trees and that paving area. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to do a paste and snap it there. So if you did not have the preserve drawing origin selected when you first imported the files, your plants may come in like this. Okay, and let me also pull these up here just so they're all on the same plane. So if your plants come in over here, if you don't have something else to register where they go, it's going to be really tough to get them in the right position because you don't really know. That's why I did this. What I would suggest is if you didn't do that, then go back to AutoCAD, isolate this plant layer, isolate the paving layer, and then when you type W block and enter, the first thing we do, remember, we're going to click the button that says select objects. So if you layer isolate this paving, you'll have all the other paving with it. But if you only select this and all these, and then you W block, you'll get a W block that comes into SketchUp just like this. And if that's the case, I'm going to group this together. Then I can do move, and I am going to grab the front corner of this paving area. So even if it comes in way over there, I've made it a group. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to snap it to right there. And now all those plants will be lined up exactly where they're supposed to be. And of course I can always take them once I've got that and move them straight down so I can work with them a little bit better. But that's the only way to really register. If you haven't used that preserve drawing origin from the very beginning, AutoCAD files will come in different places. But you can use a known object in order to move them and align them, and that way when they drop, they're going to end up in exactly the correct position. So use that technique if that's a problem. It's really pretty easy. You may have to re-W block a few files for the plants, but that's okay. It'll allow you to bring each one over, line it up. Just make sure before you do that that you group all those things so that it's easy to separate from any of the other geometry that you're already snapping to.